Welcome to your session today. Today we are going to be doing a 45-minute class on the element of water. So water is 60% of us, 70% of the earth, and it's one of those lovely kind of contrasting elements that is kind of soft, nourishing, cleansing, but hard, ferocious. You know, it can wear down rock over time, so it's pretty strong. So we're going to be feeling into both ends of that within the element of water. Now, it is one of the most important things in life. We would not survive without it. I think we last 3 days with no water intake. And it's where life comes from. So if you follow the water, life will be there. We have, as humans, set up around rivers, lakes. That's where we've lived, by the coast. So yeah, I thought it would be a lovely time of year whilst we're hopefully reducing the amount of water that we're experiencing in the world. But April showers continue, and yeah, just feeling into that fluidity and perhaps the creativity that comes with that exploration of soft but hard, strong but smooth, flowing but ferocious. So we're going to begin lying down. So come lying down. You can come into Shavasana, or you can come into constructive rest pose with your feet mat distance wide, knees touching. Wherever feels most comfortable. This constructive rest pose can often feel quite nice onto the lower back, especially if you've been sat down all day. But find wherever feels most comfortable for you. Allow yourself to widen the chest, shoulders can relax down onto the mat. Allow your eyes to close. And allow your breath to come into the forefront of your mind. Perhaps hearing the sound of the in-breath as you pull the air in through the nose. And hearing the sound of the out-breath, exhaling out through nose or mouth. Perhaps it sounds like the sea, the tide coming in and out. And just notice what you can feel in your body. Maybe there is already a rippling motion as you breathe in and out. And then when you're ready, we're going to place our feet, soles of the feet flat on the floor. Take them wide, if you can, just a little bit wider than your mat. So you've got lots of space. Open your arms out a bit wider and send the knees over to the right hand side. And then as you breathe in, allow them to drift upwards. And as you exhale, send them over to the left. Taking that few times in the rhythm of your breath. Just beginning to match breath and movement. It's going to be crucial with our exploration of water. This kind of rippling, undulating movements. And then bringing your knees in towards your chest. Taking a little hug in, so pulling your forehead up towards your knees. And then releasing on the exhale, just taking your knees a little bit further away from you. Inhaling, pulling in. Exhaling to release out. Once more, inhaling in. And exhaling out. We're going to place both soles of the feet on the floor. We're going to send our right leg out long. So we're going to take a little ripple with our leg just to warm up into the knee joint, the hip joint, and into the back of the leg muscles. So bring your knee in towards your chest. This is point 1. Point 2 is extending your foot up towards the ceiling, finding a nice long leg. Point 2, that is. Point 3 is as you draw the leg down, almost as if it's going to touch the floor, and then you come back to point 1. It's kind of like you're on a bicycle. So just get used to that movement to begin with, a couple at a times, noticing the sensations into the joints and into your legs. And then see if we can match breath with movement. So as you breathe in, the knee pulls in, and the foot extends, and then as you exhale, that leg descends down to the earth. Taking that twice more in your rhythm, in your breath. That ripple, undulation, almost like your leg is the tide, pulling in and out. And bringing that knee towards your chest, giving it a little hug in. And then extending that leg out long as you bring that right knee up. So again, we've got point 1, point 2, point 3. So taking that a couple of times, bending the knee in, lengthening the leg, and then sailing it down towards the earth. Beginning to awaken the hip, the knee, the calf, the hamstrings. That bicycle movement here, and then adding the breath in, inhaling as that knee comes in, the foot extends, and exhaling as that leg descends to earth. Making your breath sound like the tide, sound like those waves crashing in, and then retreating back. Taking it twice more. And then hugging that right knee in towards your chest. Taking the left knee in towards your chest. And either rocking and rolling up to your bottom or finding a more comfortable way for you. So rocking and rolling is kind of lifting up the chest, hooking the hands underneath the knees. Rocking up and down. And then making your way over onto all fours. So bringing your hands underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders, knees under the hips, sorry. And find something that feels like a fluid movement here. Maybe you want to circle the hips in one direction, kind of sending the hips back towards the heels and then drawing them forwards so that you're drawing a big circle. Or maybe you take 2 smaller circles, making it into a figure of 8. A little circle down the bottom, pausing at center, circling the opposite direction at the top. Inviting the sense of fluidity into the body. I often talk about how the solar plexus chakra is your epicenter of creativity and is associated with the water element too. So really moving into the abdomen, into the pelvis. Help ignite that little water fluidity, energy. Nice. We're going to take some cats and cows. We're going to do dynamically today. So as you inhale, we're going to take our cat pose, which is the opposite of what we usually do. As we exhale, we're going to lower the belly, lift the chest, and at the same time begin to send the hips back towards the heels. And then as you inhale, you begin to lift the chest, rounding the upper back, tucking the pelvis through cat pose. And then as you exhale, the pelvis tilts in the opposite direction, belly drops, chest lifts, hips back to heels, almost for a little bit of a child's pose, just for a moment until you begin to inhale. So again, this kind of tidal wave motion, this fluid undulation, this rippling movement in the body. Matching breath to movement, keeping that inner ocean sound of your breath, maybe even using Ujjayi breath. And taking that once more, and then rising up to a neutral all fours position. You're going to bring your right hand into the center of the mat and begin circling the left fingers forwards, up, back, down and around. You're bringing some nice mobility, movement into that shoulder joints. Little twist at the top. Feeling nice and fluid in the body. More mobility and more supple we can build, we can feel, sorry. The more water-like we can be, the more we can bend and adapt to things. Releasing that hand down and swapping arms. Taking the right fingers forwards, up, back and down. Breathing nice and steadily. Feeling into the sensations in the shoulder. And then releasing that hand down. Take your hands back to underneath the shoulders again. Let's tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. We want to keep our dog nice and fluid, nice and moving today. We're going to be holding any static Ardha Mukha Svanasana poses. So swaying the hips, pedaling out the feet, the legs. Nice soft neck, maybe a couple of yeses and nos, just to keep you feeling fluid and supple throughout your whole body. But we still have the strength in the arms, still holding ourselves up. And pausing for a moment so you can ripple forwards through to your high plank, top of the push-up. Now if this is feeling a little bit too strong for you today, return back to our cat and cow with our balasana. We're going to do something very similar using our plank and our downward facing dog. So starting in our plank, we're going to bend the knees, send the hips up and back to downward facing dog. Then as we inhale, we're rippling forwards through to our plank, only to start the undulation again, bending knees, hips up and back as you exhale. So that tidal energy, forwards and back, in and out, but still feeling that strength in the arms. As you ripple through your spine. Taking yourself all the way back to plank, bending the knees, shifting forwards and lowering down with control. Let's bring elbows under shoulders for our Sphinx pose. Let's take some cats and cows here. So as you inhale, pull the elbows back, the chest pulls forwards, gaze lifts. As you exhale, you press the elbows into the floor, rounding the upper back, chin pulling down to the chest. Think that a few more times, reconnecting with your breath here if you've lost that connection. Again, that option to use your Ujjayi, your ocean or your victorious breath, very audible breath through the nose, in and out. Taking one more round, one more inhale, one more exhale. And then coming back to a pause. We're going to take some quad stretches here just to remind us of that strength and power that water has. So it's bringing your left heel back towards your bottom. First we're going to do some hamstring activation. So really kicking in that heel towards the bottom. You know, feel this part of your leg really firing up. So we're going to take 3 breaths here with this ignition switched on, fully engaged. And then once you finish your 3 breaths, we're going to just switch that off and then lean back with that left hand, holding onto the left foot, the left toes, the left ankles, and taking a passive quad stretch now. So we're going to melt the foot down towards the bottom, pulling the foot in, as we're also pressing the pubic bone down into the ground. Nice quad stretch here. You can take a little bit of a swing of the heel as well, bringing it out and in. You'll notice that that slightly shifts which quad you are stretching, where you feel the sensation, I should say. Nice. And then pausing here, option to stay or option to take our half bow. Kick the foot into your hand and that's going to lift your chest. Taking a nice deep breath in here. And then releasing the foot, releasing the hand. Exhale back to center. Let's take 3 rounds of cat and cow in Sphinx again. Inhaling to lift the chest, pulling the elbows back. Exhaling to round. Nice, last time. And then pausing at center. Right leg this time, so right heel to bottom. Really pulling it in. Feeling that activation and that engagement into the hamstrings right in the back of your thigh. Taking a couple of breaths here. You might begin to feel a little bit crampy or a little bit wobbly. That means it's switching on. Many of us have slightly underused hamstrings these days. Releasing the engagement and bringing that passive quad stretch now. So reaching back with your right hand to your right foot, ankle or toes, and leaning in, pulling that foot in towards you. Making sure you're pressing your pelvis and your pubic bone into the floor to really open into the hip as well as the quad. Maybe taking that little movement, moving your heel towards the outer hip and then towards the center. And then option as always, completely optional to take that half bow, kicking foot into hand to lift the chest. Taking a nice deep breath in here. And release as you exhale. Bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, roll the shoulders and lift the chest up through Bhujangasana Cobra. Exhale, take it back. Downward facing dog. Then we're going to take our toes up to meet our hands, but take it a little crosswalk. So bring your foot to the outer opposite edge of your mat to walk up. Nice fluidity here. And then meeting one another in our Uttanasana, forward fold, keeping the feet nice and wide, allowing the upper body to release and be heavy. Nice bend in the knees so our chest and our belly are pressed against our upper legs. Can really help to switch off the lower back rather than kind of dangling forwards over our legs, trying desperately to touch our toes. Bending the knees, sending the hips up and back, just can allow the back to switch off a little bit. And slowly we rise up to Tadasana. Shoulders, neck and head draw up last. Palms face forward, slight bend in the knees, slight tuck under of the pelvis, lift of the chest. Mountain pose. Even water affects mountains. Some mountains are covered in water, glaciers. Some mountains are permanently snow-capped. That lovely sense of the water and the earth coming together, that stone-cold rock of the mountain covered in this beautiful, soft, but also as hard and strong and powerful, another element. Let's inhale, those arms around and up. Exhale, hands to the heart, changing at the hips, coming down into Uttanasana. Inhale, lifting halfway. Exhale to fold. Planting the palms, left foot back. We're coming into our lizard lunge. Option for the knee down if that feels better for you. If not, we're walking our right foot towards the outer edge, lifting that back knee up. Arms and hands are on the inside of the leg. You can place your knee down at any point. We're going to shift forwards and back to begin with. You're getting a nice little calf stretch here. And beginning to open into the front of that left hip. And then let's begin to circle the hips. So you're not going to have the traditional circle here, it might feel a bit odd. But imagining that you're doing a bit of a circle. Again, you can bring the knee down at any time. Sometimes I feel like I get a little bit more of a circle, a little bit more depth with that knee down. But if you can, keep it lifted, because it's finding that strength and that power of water at the same time as finding its suppleness, its fluidity. And then keeping the left hand where it is, the right hand is going to lift, circling the fingers forwards, up and back. Taking that twice more, circling that arm, feeling the power of your legs and your arm, whilst you feel that slow, fluid mobility and movement in the arm. Last time. Lovely. Placing that hand down on the inside of the leg once again. You might want to bring that back foot in a little bit. Actually, I lied. We're going to take our hand either side and walk that right foot in towards the centre. We'll take a little hamstring stretch here. But we're taking it really slow and soft. So we're just lifting the hips up to then drop them down back into a lunge. Use your breath. Inhaling as the hips lift. Exhaling as the knee bends. Twice more. Nice, plant the palms. Step that right foot back to meet the left. Into your downward facing dog. Let's inhale forwards. Come through to your high lunge, top of the push-up. High lunge, high plank, top of the push-up. Knees down, shifting forwards, elbows back. Chaturanga Dandasana to lower down to the floor. Inhale, rise up through Cobra. Exhale, take it back to downward facing dog. Now, two options here. You can begin to do a few rounds of your undulating plank dog, let's call it, or taking another vinyasa here. So either undulations or knees down, shifting down up through cobra and back again. You're going to take 3 breaths of whatever you're doing, whatever choice you make, to be fluid and rippling just like water. And then meeting each other back in our downward facing dog. And a step our left foot forwards, back me down if you so wish, but both arms are going to be on the inside of that front leg. Then we're going to pulse forwards and back. And building that suppleness in the lower body as well as our strength. It's just like water, we can be both. Keeping nice steady breath as you begin to circle the hips. Again, option as always to bring the knee down. We'll keep it lifted. This feels a little bit weird, but I promise you it's doing good things for your hips. And then keeping the right hand down, left fingers are going to lift forwards and up and back down and around. Twice more, connecting again with your breath if you've lost it. Last time. Bringing the hands down, walking that left foot into the center of your mat. Hands down either side of your foot, bringing that back foot in a little bit, and just taking that pulse of that hamstring stretch. So bending the knee and then lifting and lengthening the knee, opening into the back of that leg. Once more. And then stepping the right foot forwards to meet the left, back down into your Uttanasana, forward fold. Maybe taking an elbow in each hand, a little sway, a little nod of the head, keeping those knees nice and bent. Releasing the hands. We're going to begin our little undulation here as we go halfway, lift. And exhale to fold. Inhaling, rising this tidal energy again. Twice more. In your rhythm, in your breath. This time we're going to rise up all the way to Tadasana. Arms come around and up, palms meet above your head and sail down to your heart. One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Close down the eyes. And feel the breath in your chest. Feel the breath in your belly. You feel a slight rippling. Maybe your breath starts in the belly and then your chest lifts. And then your chest descends as your belly contracts in. But that fluid movement. Maybe you can feel the fluid movement of your heart pumping blood around your body. That surge of energy, that surge of liquid pressing around, the power that that has. Releasing your arms. We're going to inhale, those arms coming around and up. As you exhale, we're going to bend forwards. And as you get kind of halfway, you're going to take the weight into your right leg and lift your left knee and your left foot, taking it back behind you into kind of a warrior three pose. Then back foot's going to come down, ready for warrior two. Toes facing the long edge, right toes facing the short edge, bending down, warrior two. Let's take a little fluid motion here as we feel stable with our legs, our foundation is there. We're flying through into our side angle pose. And then lifting up and over to our peaceful warrior. So really feel nice and loose on the upper body. Flowing freely. As we feel that powerful surging energy also in the element of water into the lower body. Taking that a couple more times. And then rising up, back to warrior two. Hands to the hips. Turn that right foot, face the long edge. So we're ready for our forward fold here. Inhale, arms fluidly up. Exhale, bending the knees, hinging at the hips, falling forwards like a waterfall of energy from the tip of your spine, running down your back into the back of your neck, down out of the top of your head. If you want, you can begin to sway here, bending more into one knee and then the other. And then taking the toes out, heels in, bend into your knees to rise up for your goddess. Cactus arms, fingers spread wide. The power of water, its strength, its ability to change literally what the rock looks like our environment. Changing the nature of the land. Nice. Taking the bend out of the knee, we're going to cartwheel fluidly our arms back over our front foot, twisting on that right foot forwards. Right foot back, taking either to your downward facing dog, an undulating plank, or taking a vinyasa, your choice. Taking one more breath cycle, one more inhale, one more exhale, meeting everyone in our downward facing dog. And then walking the toes, opposite edges of the mat, back to your hands. Into Uttanasana. 3 rounds of your undulating halfway lift. Matching breath to movement. That natural ebb and flow, the natural rhythm of your breath in line with the natural energies of water lapping. Inhaling this time all the way up, rising up, Tadasana, arms around and up, palms at your heart. Nice. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, folding forwards, get halfway. Take the weight over into your left foot this time. Lift your right knee and foot off the floor. Send it back behind you, a warrior 3. And then like rain falls, plant your right foot back, preparing for your warrior 2. Feeling that strong foundation in the legs to allow you to do your fluid flowing movement going from side angle to peaceful warrior. Keeping your breath nice and steady in line with the movement of the body. Taking it once more, one more inhale, one more exhale. And then rising back up, warrior two. Turning the left foot in. Taking our little forward fold here. Slight bend in the knees, hinging at the hips. Falling forwards like that waterfall. Coming down from the tip of your spine, down to the top of your head and out again. Maybe you take that little sway. Maybe you take an elbow in each hand and feel the freedom and the fluidity of the upper body. Releasing the hands, heels in, toes out, strong. Rising up, goddess squat, cactus arms. We're going to bring our hands on our hips, on our legs. Thumbs in, fingers out. Bend down, left elbow and shoulder in towards the center. Look behind you, then lift. Right shoulder and lift. As always, match your breath. Bringing back your Ujjayi breath if you've lost it. Nice, coming back to center. We're going to heel toe. Oh no, we're not, sorry. We're going to come back to the top of our mat. So we're cartwheeling our arms over our front foot. Stepping that foot back into a plank for just a second so we can bring the knees down wide, toes together, hips to heels for child's pose. Now it's up to you. You can take some more undulations like we did with our cat and cow. Breathing in. We can add a little bit more onto this. So as you breathe in, you're coming up through cat. The hips are going to properly drop down towards the earth, so you're kind of coming through a cobra, and then releasing the whole chest down to the floor. And then you come up through cobra to rise, almost then through a cow pose as you send the hips back to the heels. It's a lovely kind of full body undulation, tidal ripple. Whatever you are doing, we're going to do it twice more. Last time. Back to child's pose. Taking your hands off the right hand side of your mat, taking a little side bend into that left hand side. Breathing deeply into your ribs, into your chest, into your waist. And then drawing back through center and taking the hands off the left side of your mat. Breathing chest, ribs, waist. And then returning back through center. Coming up through all fours, bringing your knees together on one side so you can send your hips to the other. And come down into seated. Nice, allowing your legs to come out long. And we're going to bring our left knee up and open it out. Your foot does not need to be right into your groin here, unless that feels really comfortable for you. But actually I invite you to keep your hips as square as you can. So that might mean traveling the foot down to the inner calf or sort of touching the inside of your knee. So you can have some nice square hips here. With both hips, as if you've got headlights on them facing the same direction. Pull your toes of your right leg, of your right foot, back towards you. As you inhale, we're going to lift the arms up, coming into our Janu Sirsasana. Exhale, we fold forwards. Now you can plant the fingers and bring this into a nice ripple if you want to continue with that fluidity, that movement, that rippling of water. You want to do a few ripples and then pause, keeping the feeling of the rippling of your breath. Taking 2 more breaths wherever you are, whether you're still moving, if you're paused. And then on your next inhalation, rising up. Gonna lift our knee off the floor, bring it up and over, and see if you can bring your knees almost together. So it's like you're fully crossing your leg. You can't see what I'm doing this. So my foot is just flat on the floor, just soft the leg. If this isn't in your practice, then just bring your leg up to your knee with the sole of your foot on the floor. If you are here, let's take 3 breaths in a slight forward fold here. This is super, super intense on the hamstrings, just as an FYI. Pulling the toes still back towards you in space, getting the calf some action in there. And then releasing. Taking that leg, extending it out, and then bringing your right knee in and opening it out, ready for your Janu Sirsasana on the other side. Keeping it nice and loose, and the hips facing the same direction. Inhaling, growing tall. Exhaling to bow forwards, and again, option for that rippling. As always, option to bend the knee too. Each time you ripple up, you inhale. Each time you relax down, you exhale. You might find that your fingertips creep forwards a little bit more on each exhalation. You're keeping the left toes pulling back towards you. Keeping that calf involved in our stretch. Gets left out sometimes. Pausing here or keeping the ripple going for 2 more breaths. And then on your next inhalation, rising up, lifting that knee up, crossing it over, either keeping it there and just bending forwards, or if you can, if it's in your hip mobility to do so, really press the knees almost together, flop out and relax that right foot. Lifting tall, bowing forwards, 2 breaths here. As I said, this can be particularly intense with this extra leg on top. Like me, you may not go anywhere, or you could be still touching your toes. Whatever is in your body to do today. And then rising up, releasing. We're going to wiggle our bottom up arm mat so we've got plenty of space behind us to come back to lying down. Bringing our knees into our chest. And then placing the soles of your feet on the floor. I'm going to take 3 bridge poses here, but keeping it nice and fluid. So as you inhale, you're lifting the tailbone and pelvis up. And then as soon as you begin to exhale, climbing down the spine, lower back and pelvis on the floor. Just twice more, inhaling to lift. And exhaling to lower. Once more. Nice. And then taking whatever else you need to before you rest. So maybe bringing your knees into your chest once again, maybe taking a big stretch out long, taking a couple of twists, but getting yourself comfortable and ready for your final resting position. Taking a few more moments to pause in our practice. When you're ready, relaxing down, coming back into Shavasana or constructive rest pose. And reconnecting with your breath. Maybe you place your hands on your lower belly. Feeling that rippling, that undulating, that easeful, formless movement of the body. The repetitiveness of that back and forth. The breath comes in, the breath goes out. The tide comes in and then it goes out. The wave comes in and then it goes out. And often that energy can be present in different areas. Emotions are much like waves. Our energy waxes and wanes like the moon. It builds and then it pulls away. Having that adaptability, that fluidity, that acknowledgement even of the constant change, the constant movement can be quite reassuring. Where water flows, life goes and grows. And taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. And a big sigh out through the mouth. Allowing yourself to reawaken to the present moment. Wiggling your fingers and toes. Just blinking your eyes open to reacquaint yourself with where you are. Taking a big stretch or bringing your knees into your chest. And finding a way that feels easeful, that feels fluid and comfortable for you to rise back up to seated. To close our practice, as always, with a few thank yous. Bringing your hands, palms together in front of your heart, Anjali Mudra. Maybe even bowing your head slightly. Thanking yourself for your practice, for logging in, for showing up, for doing something for you. Thanking each other and the space and community in which we can practice and share our yoga together. As always, thanking the wisdom and the teachings of yoga to guide us and show us the way, and the wisdom and the teachings of the element of water. That too guides us and shows us the way. We follow it. It brings us life, it brings us vitality, nourishment, strength, and suppleness. From my heart to yours, thank you, thank you, thank you.